Hello, Donna here. Welcome to my channel, Transcending Trauma. I wanted to make this video before, and I hope I can do this justice because it's a little hairy topic, but it's the topic of forgiveness. And I think I'm realizing, like with many things, it's the meaning we're applying to it that can often make us dig our heels in, like what we're giving the meaning, to something. So, it depends on what you think forgiveness means. I've seen a lot, and I've been one of the people online posting, like, I don't need to forgive someone that abuses me. And, I understand that train of thought. If I'm thinking forgiveness means allowing them back in my life or pretending like nothing happened, that's definitely not how I view forgiveness. So, sorry, I'm in my basement when I film these. It's really cold right now today. It's freezing down here. Um, so, what is forgiveness? Like, I don't know, I was kind of digging into it and, um, I'm someone that believes in the Bible. I know about digging heels in there even. Like, people have experienced trauma around religion. So, just try to hear me out. In the Bible, one of the disciples asked Jesus, how many times should we forgive? 7 times? And he said, no, 70 times 7, which is 4,900 times. And I honestly think that's probably per each thing, because, we feel like these feelings of forgiveness, and then, the opposite can rise up, like the need to protect self, like that term forgive and forget, even. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, should I start over? I don't know. I'm a human. I sneeze. Sorry about that. I have no way to edit my videos, so whenever you watch a video of me, it's just me sliding on and just sharing. So, it's live, non-live. So, yeah, so 70 times 7, like, I think that, yeah, you can feel like these feelings of, I was talking about forgive and forget. Um, like that saying always sort of bothered me because that's kind of how I got re-traumatized over and over again because I forgave and forgot. And, you know, um, so I forgot. And I kept on being re-traumatized and abused, and, and then I would go through those cycles with the abuser and, forgive and get sucked back in and forget. And, so when you go into healing, like things like forgive and forget, or even forgive, because I made a video the other day about you can't forgive until you first, like, really acknowledge that there was something wrong that happened. Because, like, to me, what forgiveness is, when I really look at forgiveness, I looked up the meaning of the word, and they said it was to let go of angry and resentful feelings. So then, even what is that? I dig even deeper to that. Like, to me, anger is in action. Anytime we have emotions, they're in there to provoke a behavior or an action from us. And anger, people have anger really wrong, like, of course, when, everything's on a spectrum, when people are quick to anger or project anger, but anger is a natural human emotion. And when someone's abusing you, anger is a just emotion. It's rightful, it creates action, like when you forgive and forget, you don't feel anger. And anger is what helps you set boundaries, helps you say, whoa, I will not tolerate this kind of treatment, you know? It helps you to activate the fight or flight to help you get out of situations. It gives you that energy, that momentum, you know? So, all right, so forgiveness is letting go of anger. Well, I need anger to get out of an abusive situation. It said anger and resentfulness. Then I looked up resentful. Like, you know, what's resentful mean? You know, like, I know it's resenting something happened, you know, like wishing it didn't. And that's my interpretation, and I'm sure that's kind of proper, but it said letting go of feelings of bitterness. And I also noticed that, you know, relationships really are about, you can really apply like food analogies and stuff, because like when something disgusts you, you know, when someone's behaving rotten, it should disgust you. That's that same like feeling like we have around rotten food, so we know not to eat it or we know not to engage. So bitterness, they said, is when something doesn't taste good. It tastes bitter. It's the lack of sweetness. And, so like, yeah, if something tastes bitter, not to, some bitter tastes are okay. If something's too bitter, yeah, you don't want to eat it. Like relationships should be nourishing, again, with the food statements, like think of relationships as nourishing. So, okay, back to forgiveness. It means letting go of feelings of anger and resentfulness. So, to me, what that looks like, forgiveness, is when people say it has nothing to do with them and it has to do with you. It is. It's a grieving process. So, it's a process. It is a process. So letting go of anger and resentfulness, wishing it never happened. So if you look at the grieving process, it involves anger. It involves bargaining. It involves denial. It involves sadness or depression. And then finally acceptance. And we can vacillate in between all of those things. And to me, acceptance is what forgiveness is. And again, I can feel heels digging in, like, a past me, or maybe you listening that have lived through something horrifying and saying, I don't want to accept that. Acceptance, again, the meaning we're applying to something, does not mean I'm accepting that that was okay. I'm accepting that I accept experiencing something like that again. It doesn't mean that any of those things were okay. It means accepting reality. It means accepting that that happened. It means going through all of those processes of like resentfulness, like resenting that something happened. I mean, I can see that being a just feeling, like not wanting that to happen again, resenting it happened. But once something has happened, it's happened. We can change it by changing the way we relate to it, by the meanings we apply to it, by what we pull from it, what we learn and everything from it. But we can't go back in time and make it have not happened. It's, I like to use this analogy to sort of, bring some peace with the thought of forgiveness. Is if someone breaks my leg, they damage it severely, just because it's not my fault they broke my leg, because if someone broke my leg, do I just then drag around a broken leg and do nothing to fix that because I didn't break it? It's the other person's fault. They broke that leg. They need to fix that. They need to fix that leg. No, it's not my fault, that the leg was broken when someone else comes and, hits it, and breaks it. But, I get to decide, do I want to fix it? I don't want to drag around a broken leg. Well, it's the same thing. It's it's an energy, it's dragging around that anger. Again, rightful feeling. You have a right to feel anger about being abused. That's just. But it's the staying in the anger. It's the processing. It's going through the 70 times 7, the 4,900, you know, energy feelings around, emotional feelings around something. So yeah, you're justified in feeling anger. And like the resentfulness is part of that, like with grieving, that denial and stuff, because you're like pushing away that it ever happened. I mean, what truth and light is, light is truth. That's what, when people talk about light, shining a light on something, that means seeing the truth. Seeing the truth. Sometimes the truth is so hard to look at, the truth of someone abusing your being. It's a hard thing for the brain to process. That's why the grieving process is there. That's why those stages are there, those steps, that process. It's like again, the food analogy. It's like sitting down to a huge meal. Like, are you going to swallow the whole thing at once? Like it's too much. It's too much to process. It's, like mistreatment, severe mistreatment like people will use the analogy, oh, a big pill to swallow, it's it's just overwhelming. So you've got to, again, back to Jesus saying 70 times 7, 4,900 times. It's taking those little chunks, eating it a little bit at a time, because the brain wants resolve. The brain wants to come to that acceptance. It does. The brain, that's how it works. It loves to solve puzzles. It loves resolve. It loves understanding things. It's how the brain is, so we desire, that's why people desire closure. That's what closure is. What's closure means? It means closing the door on something. So that's what acceptance is. And that's what forgiveness is. It's closing the door on something. It doesn't mean, you're accepting the mistreatment. You're accepting that that's okay to be treated like that. It means you're closing the door. It means you've had the full meal. You've chewed it all up. You've resolved it. It's not, it's palatable only because you've sat down with it and you've processed it. You've looked at the truth of it. It doesn't mean it's okay it happened. We let go of the resentfulness, resenting it happened, by accepting that it did. And it doesn't, we can accept it sucked. We can accept it sucked that it happened. But that's forgiveness. It's, letting go of all of the energy around it. It means we've dissolved all of that. We didn't forget it. We learned from it. We learned that, even forgive and forget, we learned not to do that. We learned to shut the door on that kind of treatment. That's forgiveness. It's letting go of all of that energy, because does it take energy to digest that humongous meal, that big meal that is that infraction, that abuse? Yeah, that takes a lot of energy to eat, to face that, to eat a meal and process a meal, digest a meal that big, something so horrible. It takes a lot of energy. So forgiveness is meaning you ate it, you looked at it, you accepted. What you accepted was that it happened. It did. It happened. It's acceptance that it happened. And that's forgiveness. That means it's been processed, And forgiveness absolutely means the door closed on that abuse. Like, it does not get to pull at me anymore. I don't have to eat it anymore. It's all been processed and digested, and the reality of what happened has sunk in, and that's forgiveness. That's at least how I see it. So it's closing the energy on that, um and setting yourself free from it. You know, that's the truth will set you free. It's acceptance. It's seeing what happened and accepting it. Again, meaning of acceptance. It doesn't mean it's okay. It means you're seeing the reality of it. All right, that's it. Peace out. Forgive, you know, apply the proper meaning to it and do it for you. All right, peace out.